Hey everybody, KennedyHawk from the Marvel Champions Monthly Podcast here. We're going to continue our hero combo primers. Still working our way through the core set. I kind of put these off for a while and I'm picking them back up. So, working through She-Hulk today, and we're going to talk about some cards from each aspect that pair well with She-Hulk. And it looks like I deleted the basic cards, but I'll let you know what those were too. So, let's just look at She-Hulk's kit really quick. When she's in her alter ego form, she can reduce threat by 1. She's got an outstanding 15 hit points and a pretty typical hand size of 6 in hero form, or alter ego form. In hero form, she has a hand size of 4, which is actually pretty brutal. Having a small hand size can be really painful in this game. She does have a pretty amazing stat line with 3 attack, 2 defense, but only 1 thwart. And when she flips to this form, she can deal 2 damage. So she's going to want to be flipping a lot, obviously. In her kit, she's got a lot of attack heavy events, so after you make a basic attack, pay 1 to ready She-Hulk. Take a damage to draw cards. We'll talk about why that's good later. Actually, we'll just do it right now. She's got an amazing event. Deal X damage to an enemy, where X is the amount of damage you have sustained. So if She-Hulk had 15 damage on her, she could deal 15 damage to the enemy. Now, obviously, if she had 15 damage, she'd be dead, so it doesn't happen very often, but it could. Superhuman Strength. She-Hulk gets plus 2 attacks, so now you can get up to 5 attack without even taking anything else. And the next time she performs an attack, discard Superhuman Strength. So this is an attack event, or like Gamma Slam, or a basic attack. She's only going to get that bonus attack value from a basic attack, though. She's got some thwarting things. Legal Practice, discard a card. For each card you discard, remove a threat from a scheme, up to 5 cards, alter ego only. Superhuman Law Division, you spend a mental resource to remove 2 threat from a scheme. She's got Ground Stomp, pretty good AoE superpower. This is not an attack, so this will damage enemies even when they have guard out and things like that. Gets around stunned. And Hellcat. Hellcat's actually really interesting. She gets overlooked a lot. She costs 3, but if you can get her out there, you can always use this action to return her to hand. So you can thwart, return her to hand, pay another 3, and you've got this cheap 4 thwart on a stick whenever you need it. I guess it's not super cheap, but it's there. It's an option. And one of our other standout cards is Split Personality. Change forms, then drop to your hand size. So the ideal use of this is you're in She-Hulk form, you pay your other 3 cards to flip and draw 6, and then you flip back, deal 2 damage, and now you have 6 cards in hero form. And hopefully you threw away worse cards with Split Personality. So, let's get through these aspects. We're going to go to Justice first. So Great Responsibility. This is a card that is not used a ton. But with She-Hulk, you want to get to a very precise damage value. You want to be as low as you feel comfortable with when you're sitting in hero form so that you can Gamma Slam for optimal value. So Great Responsibility, when any amount of threat would be placed in a scheme, you take it as damage instead. This can be the threat at the beginning of the villain phase. This can be when the villain schemes. But it's a good way, like say you have 5 cards in hand, you're going to be able to play Gamma Slam because you got a double resource. Hey, you can play Great Responsibility. It costs 0. You can get yourself to that optimal threat value by playing it at the right time during the villain phase. Really good card for She-Hulk. Next card, Quake. This is from the Black Widow pack. The reason I say this card is really good is obviously She-Hulk wants to flip back and forth a lot so she can keep getting that auto damage. Every time you're in this form, there might be minions out there, and you might not want to waste your good attack value hitting those minions. You want to save that for the villain. Well, Quake can take care of those minions for you every other turn, hopefully, when you're in alter ego form. So she's going to get a lot of use. Some heroes, Captain America, he can pop into hero form and he almost doesn't have to flip. He could, but he doesn't have to. So she doesn't get as much use out of him. But heroes that tend to flip a lot, Quake is really good with. Concussive Blow. This confuses an enemy. So this, again, it's going to allow She-Hulk, it's going to allow Jennifer to go to alter ego form and take those big turns, get those big hands. It costs almost her whole hand, right? She's got 4 cards, so she'd be spending almost all of them if she doesn't have any other ramp to set up her next turn, but it could be worth it. Generally, She-Hulk wants to have a pretty cheap deck. She doesn't have a ton of card draw, and with that 4-card hand size, you really want to keep things low cost, so things that are 3 and 4 cost are really hard to justify. Next, Get Behind Me. Similar to Great Responsibility, let's pull more things to yourself. Let's say they're going to hit you with some horrible treachery card. You might rather just take 4 damage from Rhino by having him attack you, because it can set up a great Gamma Slam, especially if you know this is coming up in your deck. Armored Vest. She-Hulk does have 2 defense, so if you can get your character up to 3 defense, that's pretty good. Now, you want to be taking damage for Gamma Slam, But at the same time, if you're playing a defensive, protection-y She-Hulk build, getting up to 3 defense isn't the end of the world, especially with a lot of the cards coming out in Doctor Strange's kit that want you to defend and take no damage. And finally, She-Hulk has a lot of attack, so Counterpunch is a really good card for She-Hulk. It is response attack, so this is a sneaky way to get in your plus attack with superhuman strength. It says, after your hero defends against an enemy attack, deal damage to that enemy equal to your hero's attack. So if you have She-Hulk out there with superhuman strength, your attack is 5, you defend for 2, you play Counterpunch, hit the enemy for 5, and this is still an attack, so you'll still get to discard superhuman strength and stun the enemy. So that's like a really cool combo for She-Hulk. Leadership, Quin Jet. Quin Jet is a cheap card. It is one of my least favorite leadership cards, but I think it has a spot in a She-Hulk deck. So a lot of people don't like to play Hellcat. They think she's too expensive. If you can get a couple of Quin Jets down early and then just be able to bounce Hellcat multiple times in a turn to get all that thwarting action going, that could be really powerful. In general, all the leadership allies, many of the leadership allies, are Avengers traded, and it's really hard for She-Hulk to afford these leadership characters. She's got a little bit of card draw here in Focused Rage, but not a ton. Quin Jet's something that allows her to do that. So you mulligan really hard for Quin Jet, try to get 2 or 3 of them down round 1, and then you just sort of, try to maintain until those Quin Jets are ready to pop 3 characters into play. And the reason you'd want to pop them into play is to use teamwork. You can set up really big attacks with She-Hulk and keep those allies out for things like strength in numbers and things like defending for She-Hulk so she can stay upright. And I'm going to put morale boost in here as well. Anybody that has a good attack and defense line, I think really benefits from morale boost. It's just an all-around good card for characters like that. You can get really good value out of this. So you could attack with 4 for She-Hulk. You could 1-2 punch and attack for another 4. So now you've gotten 2 uses out of morale boost, hit for 8. And then you could defend for 3 that round. So you can get 3 uses out of the same card just for 1 cost. Really good with heroes that have at least 2 defense and at least 2 attack, I would say. Alright, going to aggression cards. Counterattack. This is another one where you want to take damage as She-Hulk. After you take damage from an enemy, discard counterattack to deal an equal amount of damage to that enemy. So you can imagine Rhino's out there with a charge, he's swinging for 7, he boosts for 3, he hits you for 10. You discard this to deal 10 damage. The next turn you Gamma Slam him for another 10. That's a dead Rhino. That seems pretty solid. Combat training, again, we're just talking about getting She-Hulk's attack as high as we can. You can get her up to 4 basic attack with 1-2 punch. That means you can be swinging for 8 in a turn. Those are really, really big, powerful turns. And chase them down. She-Hulk needs all the thwarting potential she can get. We didn't put a ton of thwarting and threat removal in here, but being able to use this is really powerful. Now, there are some caveats. Ground Stomp is not an attack, so chase them down is after your hero attacks and defeats an enemy. So you're not going to be able to ground stomp a bunch of Ultron drones dead and then trigger chase them down. But you will be able to use your basic attack, your Gamma Slams, 1-2 punch with a basic attack, and all sorts of things like that. So I think it's still a good card. For neutral cards, I don't have them in front of me, but anything that could increase She-Hulk's health, like Endurance or Honorary Avenger, that allows you to get that optimal 15 damage out of Gamma Slam. So you could spend 4 resources, deal 15, still have a little bit of wiggle room. If you had 3 Honorary Avengers and an Endurance, you could have 6 health left and still hit for 15, which is pretty good. And then those enhanced cards. She-Hulk is really strapped for resources, and a lot of times with this 4-card hand size, you have real awkward turns where, let's say this is your hand, and you're just like, okay, well, I don't really want to play Concussive Blow, so I'll attack and I'll 1-2 punch. Now I've got 2 cards left. If I had an enhanced card as my 3rd card, I still wouldn't want to play either of these, but I could at least save these resources for future turns by using that enhanced basic card. So definitely recommend those. These are the cards I would recommend thinking about when you're trying to deck build She-Hulk. I know she's a character that challenges a lot of people, so I think she's viable in all 4 aspects. I think you just have to stretch what those aspects do. A lot of people avoid Great Responsibility. A lot of people avoid Quin Jet. A lot of people avoid Get Behind Me. So that's a card from each aspect that people tend not to play that is an optimal card for She-Hulk, and that might be one of the reasons a lot of people see her as a difficult character to deck build. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. We got 2 more core set heroes to go through, and then we'll start moving on to the expansion Hero Pack heroes. Thanks for tuning in.